Okay, so I'd like to call the Cable and Broadband Internet Commission to order. As far as attendees, Louis, you wanna start? We'll rotate this.
Yep, Luis Rodriguez.
Bob Capone.
Gary Lau.
Stephanie Secord, Public Information Officer for the city.
Suzanne Woodland, Regulatory Counsel. And we also have with us Sean Clancy.
Sean Clancy, Economic and Community Development, City of Portsmouth.
And then we have Ash Chicory.
Ash Chicory on Zoom.
Excellent. Can you hear us okay, Ash?
Yes, loud and clear.
Good.
All right, has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yep.
Questions, problems, complaints? Right.
Move to approve. Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. All right, so next, review the map and correlation report. Stephanie.
Yes. So Suzanne will pull it up. She says. So that Stephanie can speak to it. There it is.
If you just reduce it a little with the minus sign and the
Yeah.
lower left.
But
So as we discussed last time, I took all of the comments in answer to the question about, do you have problems? What kind of problems do you have? And the column of who was the service provider for each of those. And essentially this map is showing us which service providers have different amounts of complaints, essentially, because 99% of the comments were negative comments. So what we're taking away from this map is the red with the star is Verizon. And the map is heavily populated, and this is specifically in answer to the question about where did you have a problem. So the geographical tag is where a customer said that they were having problems with their cell service.
Okay.
And I would say that first, just to explain the colors, as the red with the star is Verizon. I tried to do branding colors. The black is Xfinity, the turquoise is AT&T. What I had hoped would be a more pinkish red, like T-Mobile, is T-Mobile.
Okay.
And the best way of seeing the distinction for those is that T-Mobile has a little circle in the middle of the map icon, and Verizon has a star. So in supplementing a comment about concentrations, a large majority of the people who respond to the survey were Verizon customers. So that's number one.
Yeah, I was gonna say, what's the,
And then number two is when you get closer on Atlantic Heights, everybody had problems with Atlantic Heights, no matter the service provider. There's a lot of, they're all the different colors there. And as I think we commented before, there were notes about the big box stores, and that is probably a function of the steel structure of the big box. So that was recurrent. The other location that came up a lot was the intersection of Route 33 and 95.
horrible.
That ramp came up frequently. So that's basically what we saw. It was nice to be able to correlate the comment locations and the provider. I think, as we were talking about last time, that the providers might be very interested in this information. So that's really a conclusion. We looked at the answers to the survey last time for different areas, answers to different questions, and this was the next step after that.
And just for the record, Jeff Abrams, another cable commission member has just joined us, so just wanted to make sure we
Sorry,
we
no
get
late
that
for
on
that.
the,
Yeah.
on the record. And the cable commissioners have been provided with a live link to this information, and just wanted to check, were you all able to access that and zoom in and kind of explore as you would like?
Yep.
Areas, okay, good.
Great job.
Yes. I
Okay,
agree. It was,
yeah, thank you,
phenomenal.
Stephanie.
It was
Yeah.
good to have that question about where do you have a problem, because that's the only way you can map it.
Well, it's nice, yeah, to be able, I don't know how easy it was, but to be able to correlate, I think is huge. Especially to be able to, at that point, is I am thinking that perhaps the providers probably know, but the fact that we can go to them and say that we know is
Our
potentially.
customer-
If anyone has questions of Stephanie's work, or you want me to zoom in on anything, I'm happy to hopefully do that and not knock us off the map here. But
And I'm not sure there were other questions, but now that I have a better grip on doing the correlation, we can do that with other questions. We can certainly do that with our next business survey. So it's really just a matter of sorting the information. Also a function of the fact that we didn't have thousands of entries, so it was pretty easy to do a spreadsheet and then sort it. I just plugged the locations into the map.
So crazy question, but were there any people that commented that they had good coverage, and was there? And like, I guess if the numbers were like, 3 responses, not gonna be of any value, but if we had some that had good, well, being able to overlay that information might be helpful, but I don't know what,
Say there are only a few, but I can overlay that
mean-
information just with a different color of.
right? I guess the big thing too is, yeah, I hate to say this as well, but generally people will, many times you participate in the survey when they have something to complain about.
But to be honest, that's all we care about.
Right, well, but I guess what I'm
Like,
also
if-
thinking.
Yeah, I mean, for fairness sake, I totally get it, but at the same time, it's like,
This is a good point.
regardless, like, that's what I've always said is like, we have this weird sort of, our standing literally is we are having this many people and ourselves
You make it real
complain, and like, if there are people saying that it's good, I don't care. I have this many people
Right,
complaining and they need, like, that's what we're here to do.
Yeah,
So
advocate.
regardless, that's why I try and like always say like, what's our, when we were getting into the granularness of this is amazing, actually, like way good. But even I was saying at the beginning, I was like, even if we didn't get this, that is the strongest statement and backbone that us as a commission has to have to, like, no matter what, that's kind of essentially what it is. Like, if we have people and we know it's a problem, but then again, it's like the reason that we're even a commission is because we have constituents that are having a problem the same way Suzanne steps in when there's somebody who's really having an issue with Comcast, and all that other stuff is their metrics that they can give us to make us feel better, but it's like, doesn't matter, it doesn't change. What are we gonna do about this? Doesn't matter. I don't care if there's 20% people are saying it's great. I'm a little re-energized about this because I feel like my AT&T service has gone down recently. So I've been like I haven't seen any rumblings about it. So I don't know, I've just been seeing that I'm jumping on like 5G plus a lot, and like 5G, and I've been on LTE the most I've ever seen. I don't know, I've been trying to like figure it out. So that's why I'm a little more re-energized about this. But yeah, so that's kind of my takeaway is I totally get like where you wanna make this
well, I'm
totally like statistically valid and account for the
What I'm
whatever,
also
but
thinking
this
is
is
that-
it.
Yeah,
for
what I'm
me
also
personally.
thinking is that, okay, if we can have, like, again, maybe, I don't know if this is something else we can get, but is it possible for us to find locations of cell towers or other things to be able to, again, further correlate, like, okay, is this a cell tower issue? And that, because we've had, like, if you were to talk to anybody on the beach in Rye, everybody would say that the connection's bad there.
Yeah.
But the times that they've tried to put a cell tower up, they got shot down due to public opinion on not wanting to have a cell tower and all that that comes with it. But if there are cell towers in certain locations, like, I don't know what the details are as far as like, okay, does Verizon and AT&T have unique towers, or can they both use the same? And if the towers are available for any use, then at that point, we can really go to Verizon and say, what's the issue here? Because you can use this tower. So it's a lot less, a lot less of an issue than having to go in front of a town and get approval to put the tower in.
I think that would be like the first when we get in contact
Right.
with these people, that would be the first thing is look this and what's your response and because there's even beyond the towers, there's the little 5G repeaters scattered throughout on telephone poles. There's, there's all this infrastructure. So they would just have to figure that out and
Yes.
let us know where they're.
And you're right,
Those
yeah,
spots are.
I'm getting lost in the data, and I think at this point,
Like I said, yeah, it's like I want to too, for sure. And I want to make sure that like my data is statistically valid and accounts for, like, well, again, we're only getting one hand. And I wanted to ask about somehow figuring out, because that's obviously a lot of Verizon up there, is like, can we take that and statistically, man, I did psych stats a long time ago, like make it so that the population's responses are equivalent based on provider. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean? Like if so that it's like the number of complaints per capita, like a per capita response on each of the providers would be interesting to me. But again, I don't know if it's, again, this is me just wanting these things. So that's why like, yeah, it would be cool, but at the same time, it doesn't matter. We have this many people, this many number of people that we're supposed to represent and help and do things for, saying this is a problem. So that's it. Like I said, it doesn't matter anything else.
Easy to do a pie chart that just breaks out the providers, so you have a sense of that when you're looking at this. I mean, it's somewhat obvious from the map itself, but
Yeah.
just so that you had statistically, and then take the number of points on the map weighted to that percentage of the provider, that might give you extra. And the other thing I wanted to say is we have all of the rest of the information from the answers to the survey that we keep in mind. And I was thinking that the last question we asked was, is there anything else you want to tell the commission? I could do a correlation of service providers with the answers to that question and do a similar kind of graphical display. That isn't gonna have the geographic points, but it would give you, I can give you the spreadsheet that shows, because I can sort it that way. So of all of the comments, of 30 comments, 10 of them were from Verizon people, 3 of them were from AT&T people. That might be useful, and that's relatively simple to do.
Yeah. And that's great. And I think that would scratch our itch. But again, in the end of the day, we're gonna show up with this map. We're gonna say, what's your response? What's going on? Like, and we can, that's where I think I'm writing down, we can have specific requests. I think that's gonna be part of that. Let's say, how does this, we asked them, how does this map correlate with your infrastructure? Can you show us an infrastructure map that we can look at and see if this is a thing? What is it? Do you have your own maps? We can request them. They may not give them. They may say they're not available. I'm sure they exist somewhere, but maybe not for us. And then we go again, and the conversation continues from there. It's like, okay, what do you need? What do we need to do? What do we need to put? Can you share, again, towers? Can we, in Maine, they're putting up a fake tree tower in the woods, in the middle of the woods, still within like a half-mile range of people's houses, but it's like in the woods where it's completely obscured. And, is that a solution? I don't know, but that all for this is the problem. We know it's a problem. I'm annoyed. Like I said, I'm kind of, it's ridiculous. I'm having it all. I should just write my own response and make it very lengthy. You can highlight it. We can skew the results. Right? No, I'm kidding. But yeah, so then I guess, I don't know, that's kind of my thing is with this, go to them and we've sent something out, right?
We held it because I was not satisfied with the names that I had.
Okay,
And so was like, you know what, I'm gonna wait for the data to come in and then I'll really poke, cause I want a government relations person.
yeah, okay, well, that's.
Just some
yeah,
other
okay.
names that I had, cause I'd done some feelers out, more technical in sales, and I'm like, no, I'm looking for another source, so I figured when I got back, I'm back, and we've got some data, and so I figure I'll tweak what you've already approved.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then once we get that, I think that with this information, we should. And we think about it all the time and come back together, shoot questions and through people and get a list together or something of just like, we wanna know, again, this map, these issues, what data do they have? That's gonna be a big portion, it's just discovery. And then after that, it's gonna be analysis and then implementation.
I think you will find that they will not want to share data and they're not required to. However, they might be willing to talk generally about their plans and what they do and do not understand about the current service issues. Just recognizing that I had a conversation with them 2.5 years ago now, because we were dealing with it on the municipal side because we had Verizon, you know, for a whole bunch of needs downtown, and in other places in the city, and we're noticing, and, you know, certain additional infrastructure went up on some of our buildings, like community campus. And then we had some conversations that some of the information needed to stay confidential in terms of their plans. But they were willing to have a conversation. I think that's why I'm trying to find the right person within the organization who will talk to this committee and both maybe publicly, and if they have confidential information that they're not willing to share publicly, but would share confidentially, like we do with Comcast, we hold certain information confidential, you know, confidentially, like number of subscribers, things like that. Then you as a committee might get more information, but you wouldn't be able to share it all in this kind of very public recording context. So I think we'll just have to see, but just know because we don't have quite the regulatory arm that we do with Comcast.
Right.
It's a more ask and help us explain to the public and you know, can you provide some confidence that you're looking at these issues and are gonna make infrastructure improvements. An art.
Would there be any, what's your opinion, the two of you's opinion as well, maybe just yours, because you're more on the municipal side, of providing them with the raw data as well, so as to add validity to our, rather than having us saying, hey, you're having problems, we can provide actual data with location data and say, look, these are the people that are having.
That's why when I didn't have the names I felt confident in terms of contacts, and I knew this was coming in. And we saw, you know, the initial results before we had the map, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna hold. Because that letter is pretty well structured that says we've been, you know, collecting data. And the obvious question is, would you like it? So, and I think there's even I haven't gone back to look at the letter, the draft letter yet, but I think it even says, you know, we'd be willing to work with you. What other data would you like that you don't already have? So it was a very artful, diplomatic invitation.
I think it was collaborative.
Yes, that we've identified issues that our residents are having, and we'll talk about businesses in a minute. And is there anything we can do to get this better service here in the city of Portsmouth?
And you could look again at the actual survey results, because I'm thinking that we asked people for their residential address. We also asked them for email. We can drop that column. So that, because if we didn't actually overtly say it is general practice not to share contact information without explicitly asking for permission to do so. So I think we can suppress email addresses to keep people's information.
Yeah.
Not that we'd use it, but do we have any leverage with these people? Not that we'd use it.
Which people?
With the
With
people.
Comcast or Verizon.
I asked the same question when I first joined.
We do not have any statutory
They're omnipotent.
No.
leverage, but, you know,
Kidding.
oftentimes if you can raise an issue and describe it and, you know, you can bring it to their attention and sometimes, depending on their business interests and other interests, they will respond. You know, because we have had additional infrastructure installed in places where we specifically identified a municipal need. Community campus was the example, once we acquired that.
Yeah, so just a quick breakdown, just so that maybe we have at least an idea of, as far as like these infrastructures, we've talked a lot about telephone poles, how they're owned by Eversource and they're like leased to the companies.
Yes.
And the city of Portsmouth is pretty much out of that probably until Eversource needs to replace or add a pole or whatever. And they would contact us and maybe just do the equivalent of pulling a permit or just be like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But other than that, it's a negotiation between Eversource and the person who wants to put something on their pole and whoever that may be. So if somebody, so that's like one infrastructure portion. And then there's like the building portion where like there could be privately owned buildings or whatever,
Yeah.
buildings that somebody owns that that the providers can then put infrastructure on. And I think that you guys did that at community campus and maybe even downtown for
Yep.
Broadcasting or whatever. And then there's towers, and then that's a bigger thing. So I just wanna like, I don't know what, these are gonna be a question that I'm gonna be asking this hopefully very technical person of being like, you know, like what is the weight of each of these things? Like what can we do, you know, where's the chokehold, you know, because and maybe they're not equal. Like obviously a tower sounds like it's much more like a better solution than like little 5G repeaters scattered throughout places because they're shorter wave. I have no idea. These are technical questions because that would just narrow down. Like we might not be talking about a tower. We might be talking about, and again, we're going to be reaching out to small businesses. We might be talking about businesses being willing to throw something on their roof. You know, we may be talking about, I don't know, what's the deal with, is there a saturation point with the telephone? I don't know, like, that's why
Yeah.
I'm just bringing this all up so that everybody kind of knows like what the sort of process, I guess, is, and if there's anything I'm leaving out, I don't know. So it's like basically putting them on buildings that people own, you know, somebody has to agree to that, putting them on poles that Eversource owns, and then towers, which would have to be always up to a town vote, because I know the rise.
It's different here in the city of Portsmouth and how we regulate that. That's regulated by the land use side, and there are
Okay.
federal and state regulations that theoretically are supposed to facilitate actually and make easier the construction of towers. But I don't think we've had an application here in a really long time.
Which again, may not be how they, a lot of what I've just read is just, especially with the 5G, is like, it's just like they're scattering all these sort of high frequency, low range repeaters that, you know, so it's like more like a cluster mesh type style thing versus giant tower blowing out one signal from one location. But again, I am not versed in this, which is what I just laid
Yeah,
it so
we're
that
looking
we
for
have
more
questions.
information.
So that everybody can ask more questions when we do get somebody like this, because it would dictate what the solution even could possibly be.
Is there any new technology on the horizon that, I'm sure they know that there's problems in other areas and other geographical areas that instead of repeaters or whatever that they're having,
I
developing, asking if
don't,
there's.
I don't know,
I bet you there is,
so.
There is.
6G,
whatever.
there's probably 7G
Looks like.
in China. They already rolled it out.
Did you have a question, Ash, or just commenting?
No, I was just to make a comment. So just to answer, yeah, there are technologies, those cell companies do have technology to measure signal weakness. So I'm pretty sure they're aware of it. And just to what Louis said, same thing. I think what needs to happen, if possible, is those blanket areas, especially Verizon. Verizon doesn't seem to have much coverage for 5G in the area, more like 4G. It becomes 5G once you enter like the Kittery area and some parts of Portsmouth. So they, and Suzanne, you mentioned there's
Yep.
probably a permit capability, right? If they wanted to come in and use poles or even buildings to have repeaters. I'm not sure what the procedure is, but that I think what should happen, because Portsmouth is a high traffic area in the summer. Even I have AT&T, I go downtown, past Saturday, I have 5 bars, but barely pulling. So that means like a lack of bandwidth, not just signal. So not sure what they, like you said, we don't statutorily can tell them that, but it would be good if they could install repeaters to alleviate, it's like having a modem that's set for 10 devices and you have 30 on them. So what they need to do is have a node repeater. Maybe something that could be brought to them as well.
And I think part of the invitation that Louis wrote into that draft letter that you all looked at, which is, are there hurdles that the municipality imposes that are preventing better infrastructure being installed? So that if there are hurdles, we know what they are, and then if it's something that needs action or consideration, at least by the city council or a planning board, or, then we know what that hurdle is. And, and we can kind of look at it from that point of view and see, are there some steps that can be taken?
Right. Oh, that's good.
Yep. Do you want to look at your draft survey?
Yeah, sure. So are we good? Should we move on, or should we table? Are we?
So I think that, well, so the next step is that you're gonna be sending out a letter shortly to when she gets the appropriate contact for each of the things. So I guess we're just gonna be holding steady until then. Once we get someone, a name back from anybody, I wouldn't like wait till we have all three. I'm just like, as soon as somebody gets back, I think it's just worth going with that, because who knows how long it's gonna take. We should reconvene and come down with like, okay, so they're gonna have a response to what we're gonna be asking for their initial and see what they say, and then we're gonna probably have more now that we have data. more-
I guess my thought, my priority, because the vast majority, it appears, are Verizon. I feel like maybe perhaps we shouldn't wait on all three, but maybe make a targeted approach Verizon first and see if we can get, at that point of contact there. And
Doesn't serve my self-interest, but that's okay. No, I got you. Yeah, no, totally. I think, like I said, we're gonna fire it off. Yeah, as soon as you get contacts for anybody, just fire it up to that
Yeah,
person
I think,
and wait,
yeah.
and hopefully we get Verizon first for sure. I would prioritize speaking to them, because obviously there's a problem here with the
Right.
majority
They're
of people. Yeah, and then again, once we get the response, because I don't have the copy of the letter, and I can briefly remember it,
okay.
but like we kind of, we again, in a nice friendly way, veil the threat of we're collecting data and we have that data and we're willing to share it with you at a future date, and so it's got some things that I'd like to see what their responses are. And then now that we have the data, like I said, I'm gonna be brainstorming and just kind of thinking of like questions again. It sounds like Suzanne said we're not gonna probably get what we want from them because it's proprietary data, so I'm not.
I think we just need to- we
You took
need
the
to
wind out of
say
my
that-
sails. I don't think like, no, they're not gonna give us a map
That
of
doesn't
any
mean you won't
kind.
get a response, and that doesn't mean you
Yeah.
might not get some action.
Yeah.
They just may wanna,
It would be cool to really see like, oh yeah, we like like
Yeah.
Verizon having their nearest thing over in Pease, and then that's why there's like a bubble of like, okay, or maybe that's again, it's like the population weight, and that's also like a again, if we could weight it like per capita response to see which, because I mean, maybe, yeah, no, I mean, Verizon, no matter what, is if I can do math in my head is gonna be a problem, even if you account for population and responses and stuff like that, so,
I do recall that some of the answers said, I complained, they gave me a repeater, or said they put a repeater somewhere, didn't make any difference. So you might wanna get the response to that. You know, what exactly is a repeater and where do you put them, and is this a
What's the
just, you know?
protocol, how you place them?
Yeah,
That's-
is
that-
it,
you know,
is
that's
it
another
just
thing.
for one customer or?
yeah,
And
that
maybe
is
we
another
take-
thing. Yeah, so they
Maybe
do,
we chased those couple where they said they understood there was a repeater and it doesn't work, and maybe we feed that back as well. So it's nice to have all this data to hand so that as the letter goes out, if you get that call, well, let me tell you what we've
yeah.
found so far and where we're continuing to go.
I do
So
wanna
it's
warn
nice.
that we're gonna get a lot of that, we provide customers with this. There is now, customers can enable Wi-Fi calling on their phones, so now that they can use their Wi-Fi for calls when they're at their home, so a lot of the, you know. And so I think that that's gonna be something that we should all think about, is the validity and. Again, so when you get repeaters, it is specific to like your person, usually, like I had an AT&T repeater, I had to register my numbers, I had to add my mom's phone number, I had to add my phone number, I had to like add which phone numbers were allowed to use this repeater. I don't know for others, but I'm assuming that it's controlled like that, because I don't think that they're just rolling out essentially mesh network out.
It may also be a case where they don't wanna provide a cell, 'cause I know that, for instance, my uncle, a long time ago in Florida, talked about how he was in a low spot, was able to get the provider to give them, and he said the entire neighborhood was happy with that.
Hmm.
But potentially, if your problem is not a signal strength problem, but a bandwidth problem, meaning you're getting a good signal, but there's so many people using the connection that you're not getting any kind of a benefit, it makes them look bad. So perhaps what they're doing is saying, okay, only the people that have asked for this can get the boost. So that way, the people that asked got the benefit.
Yeah.
It could be that way. I mean, that would be my knee-jerk reaction for registering specific, cell numbers, which is probably more likely specific. I don't know what the specific, like for cell coverage, but there's a MAC address, a specific address on each phone that's unique to the phone. That's probably, or to the SIM. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Would you like Stephanie to do any of that? She offered up, a couple of different ways to look at the data. Would you like her for whenever we hold the next meeting to kind of do that, or hold tight?
I don't, I got like the results, and maybe it might be because it came through as like a strange like Windows attachment, that I didn't get like the link to like this interactive map and other stuff, so I'll probably be picking, like, I can
Okay.
I just want the spreadsheet numbers and stuff, so I
Okay.
might email her directly on that and just like play with numbers, and that would just help me develop questions or just
Sure.
do any trends, and if I come up with anything that I'd bring it up at the next meeting, but
So
I wouldn't wanna,
hopefully
like, there's so many
Stephanie
weird
can
things that I
provide.
would just like look at and, just filters and I wouldn't wanna make you do all of it, because I just have 1,000 ideas of just like, yeah, no, okay, like, let's look up of, again, three-way, full bandwidth or full bars, no service, not enough service. Versus no bars, and like filter all those things on a map like 100 different ways to see if it develops any questions for me, or if I see
So why
anything.
don't we take a kind of offline
Yeah, exactly.
conversation to see what we've got, the form you have the data in, and what would make sense, although keeping the data secure, which would be my just sensitivity to that.
Yeah.
Okay? So we'll take that and
Or
follow
we can
up
meet, and
separately.
as long as,
And-
again, if all the commissioners are okay with it, like, we can meet privately and.
Right, that's
and
what I'm
just, like,
suggesting,
We
that
can
you
do a
do.
one-on-one meeting, and
And then
then
you
I
can report
can,
back.
it would just be something that I can bring up at the next meeting, yeah, we can easily do that, like I said, I don't have any specific questions, and I can rattle off like 100, like, what about this, and what about that, okay, we'll take these people out, now what? That I wouldn't wanna make you do it all.
All right, let me, if it's okay with you, because I'm mindful of the time.
Yeah,
Let me see if I can bring up the draft survey. Sean is here. Okay.
I apologize. I probably should have put you first.
Yeah, we should have done that. I didn't even think about that.
Uh,
better.
Background.
Yeah.
Oh, I just need to share it. All right. There we go. Let me scroll up a little bit. All right, did everyone have a chance to look at the draft survey?
I think it's excellent.
Okay, come in.
So I think the first paragraph and the paragraph that will be in the email with the link to this actual survey reiterates what you said at the last meeting, which is that we're trying to get feedback from business owners, their customers, and their employees, so that the intro invites all of those people. And other than a few things like residential address that we took out of the other survey, the biggest difference in this survey is that the locations for the businesses, those categories are based on how Sean's list or the CRM that Sean has access to, those are the way the geography sort that list is done by. So we're matching up, so hopefully when we then look at the answers and correlate them to locations, we know we're tapping into people who have identified themselves in those areas. And the
So that's
function.
here. Yeah.
The function, as Sean explained to me, and I will let him explain it himself, is that we provide the link and the intro paragraph and the CRM company, however that works, sends it out to everybody on this, which is how many people on the list? 3,000 or so, right?
They're not all valid. I'm still cleaning the list.
No one
Yeah.
is ever.
Yeah, it's at least a couple of thousand valid.
So the only thought I had, and I could be completely wrong on this, is do we want, like at the very end, to ask them, are you the owner, an employee, or a customer, as a final question? Just so that, hey, if it is a business and we learn that maybe if it's a business with 40 employees, they should reach out to their carrier, whoever they are, and ask for this additional infrastructure. So I'm just wondering if it would be good to make it very clear who's responding to the survey. So for those that do send their employees.
I think that'd be valid response, and you can have like a choose not to respond
Right.
option, just in case anybody really doesn't want to, and or make it not required or whatever. Another thing I was going to ask was, does your establishment offer
Wi-Fi?
Wi-Fi services?
Yeah.
But there's it's kind of like a twofold. And I'd want to filter out the people that like offer their Wi-Fi services. And then the people that have like that Xfinity mobile, like basically you have to like an Xfinity and it does that for you basically. Or I don't even know if that matters, but that people may respond like, yeah, we have like Wi-Fi that customers can use here. And it's like Xfinity stuff versus people who it's like, oh no, like we have infrastructure that we set up, we have a guest network because we've had to do this all and pay money and have someone maintain it because the service is bad. Like that might be like a thing. I don't know. So I don't know. I think asking the question regardless is for sure. It's just whether you guys think that
I'd like to see the question.
delineating those or
I-
separating those people.
I'd like to see that.
I'd like to
question
see the question, just because it's information, if, again, at least at as far as employee, owner, customer. I'm wondering whether we ask if they provide Wi-Fi service, only because it then could potentially give us an issue like, okay, where if there are a lot of complaints about Verizon from our residents, but there's nothing showing up in a problem area for a business, we can say, okay, well, that's not so much that that's the solution, but that
That's
that
the solution
that
they engaged.
they
because of
engaged in.
that.
So maybe that again also gives us more, a little more to be able to say, look, your problem is so bad that people are looking at other solutions.
Yeah.
And that maybe you're not hearing about it because it has gotten so bad that they have just gone off and done their own shadow solution.
Right, you just come up with like a ChatGPT response of how much it costs a small business to set up a Wi-Fi network and maintain it and be like, our businesses have reported back saying that, and they're averaging spending however many thousands of dollars a year on maintaining a Wi-Fi because they feel their customers can't, it's the same reason why we do it. We feel like, I don't need a customer being like, oh, I can't access my insurance card or whatever they're trying to access. So we have a guest network and we pay for that. And for the sole reason that we cannot rely on people not having service, I don't know. And also it's kind of par for the course for businesses.
Can I ask a quick question procedurally? So Stephanie, is it possible, like if we ask, are you the business owner? Is it possible to then have it populate just for the business owners, one additional question that says,
So it's a reactive survey.
yeah, so that if not, could it at least say, if you are the business owner, please advise whether you have implemented a Wi-Fi service?
Right.
And is that at all related to
That's
any?
probably gonna be the way MailChimp lets me set it up.
Okay,
But we definitely can do that.
okay,
But I'll check whether we can have a question pop up in response to a yes, no.
anyway, get there.
So I'll take another pass at this with those additions and we'll be ready to launch whenever you'd like.
Robin Lewis, do you wanna look at the final version since you two have been kind of most involved before? If Stephanie takes a shot and
Yeah,
just give
sure.
a quick
Sorry,
look
you
and
just
see
send
if
it,
it
I'll just send it,
captures.
so it'll be fine, but
Okay.
yeah, no, just in case I have any.
So is it, since we have you here?
Yeah.
Have you had a chance? Do you have any suggestions? Have you had a chance to review it? Do you have any thoughts or just to tap your
Why don't you
experience?
come up to the table because the way the
Sure.
mics work, it would be better.
I haven't,
Not to hit you
no,
blindside.
I haven't done a survey yet.
Mhm.
It's, I've done mostly pushing information out. So unless I beat you to the punch, this could be the first, but it's not, I can actually build a survey within the tool and it'll come back to the tool and sort it by the business, because that's what it is.
Okay.
This is really the link, you're gonna get the response. So, no, I mean, I think, I looked at the survey, I think it's, less is more, right? You all have been on this case for a while and my experience with businesses is you gotta keep it simple and give them a reason to give you good data. If you try to do too much, they're very busy.
Yeah.
Business owners here, but it's really hard to break through their day-to-day and get over that survey stigma. I mean, the good news is you're tapping into something that's important to them, helps them run their business. And so if you make it quick and to the point, I feel like that's gonna.
What do we, this is gonna come, so this, the CRM tool that you're using is just basically, it's like an email blast service, so you basically have a big list serve, and so this is gonna come through to this list of that you have, business owners, people associated, whatever, I'm sure it's pretty, he said it's pretty big, so it's gonna be pretty expansive. And then, we're gonna be asking them to share it. The problem with share, and so I wanna think about that is like, how are we gonna ask them to share it? Can we get a dummy link that's super easy, like cell phone, City of Portsmouth cell phone service is trash at cityofportsmouth.com, something that's,
We-
easily like, oh yeah, go to this. They don't have to like forward it to their employees or, you know, just like, oh, hey, yeah, we got this survey, like go to City of Portsmouth, cell phone is bad.com. I don't know.
Yeah, we definitely can do, can
QR
take
code
this.
is what we
We can do
thought.
a QR code, yes, and we can take what's a long URL of gobbledygook that MailChimp provides and translate that into portsmouth.co/business cell survey or something along those lines.
Okay.
Shorter.
Yeah, yeah. Excel survey, yeah. That would be, because, yeah, I think like QR code, like me, I don't know if anybody will put it up. Do we have I'll send you some ideas. I think that it's kind of, this is, I do social media, so, to get engagement, like I can see, and I hope it's not too inappropriate, but it's like, I can see like a poster being like, cell phone service sucks, ? City of Portsmouth wants to know, you know, just again, engaging, making somebody want to say, oh, yeah, or, you know, that's rule number one to like marketing is strike an emotion
Yeah.
and see what you get, because it's gonna entice people. Getting the official Seal Portsmouth email might not. But I'm actually surprised. We've gotten great responses on our survey so far, so.
Well, when we put out the original survey, we promoted that in the city newsletter, and we can definitely do the same thing with this, with the same kind of, you know, billboard appeal to answer the question. But I'm also thinking that that intro paragraph should start out, cell phone service is critical to your business and to your customers and to your employees. We're doing a survey, please help us collect some data.
That is artful.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's a little better than cell phone.
Help
service,
me,
but-
help me.
Question mark. So yeah, I put a question mark in there because I didn't want to make a statement. So yes, no, yours is a little more tactful. Yes, exactly. So I think that, yeah, messaging, getting people to want to respond to this, getting people to feel like this might, and you know, as much as, I don't know, that this might make a difference.
Yeah, and if it's challenging and people feel strongly about it, they're going to want to forward it on and get other people to confirm, right?
Yeah.
Right, I have a plan.
Yeah, and if there's anything else that you think of, if there's anything else that you want to include, if there's, you're saying that this is sort of the first time that you're gonna be reaching out, if using your CRM tool to do anything. We have just give you ideas, we have talked about doing different, identical but different versions of the survey so that we could get segmented data, you know what I mean? So that like, if we knew if people scanned this QR code at White Heron, like that would all go somewhere, you know what I mean? So like, it would kind of I don't know if that's, but then again, that's where we started getting into this, like, we all wanted this really granular data, we're all nerding out on it, and then I kind of was just like, it doesn't matter, we just got people saying, I'm having a problem with my cell phone, and that's all that we really have to go off of, to be honest. So I don't know if there was any, again, advantage to using your tools that you could, if there's anything
I mean,
different.
the tool is there and I'm continuing, so I mean, it's been in like beta for a year and a half. And
Okay.
I've been working with the developer to add components and the survey is there and now this ability for me. I can sort by these geography, I can sort by industry cluster, I can sort, that's really the major ones. Until I start using it more, but.
Do you get like, okay, yeah, all right, yeah. Right, I can think about that.
Yeah, but this, again, this I've been mostly using it as a communication tool, right? So this is gonna go out, someone's gonna hit that survey, and it's coming back to you, it's coming back to MailChimp.
Mhm.
It's really not coming back to the tool.
Yeah, I know,
Just
that's
have the
what,
ability
that's
to
what I was
see-
wondering, is if there's anything that we're missing out on by doing so, or if there's anything that we would gain by not doing so. We're gonna be able to sort because we're using the same geographical
Yeah.
locations that the CRM tool uses. We're gonna be able to like basically do the same thing. That would probably be the only thing. that
Yeah,
we
I
can
think
do.
what I'll see is I'll see how many people respond in the different areas and it'll come back and it'll be in their profile that they answered the cell service survey.
Okay,
Which is good information
Right,
Okay.
for the future.
yes.
okay.
All right,
Live link.
Yeah, right.
right, so mindful of time,
Yeah.
we have no public comment, that's for no public.
So thanks, John.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, thanks
Next
so much.
meeting.
And we're also gonna blast off of other business. We'll table anything else for next meeting because we are short on time. So are we at this point looking to schedule next meeting?
I would say that we should schedule the next meeting after Stephanie's gonna brush up, add 2 questions basically to the survey. She's gonna send it to us. We're gonna probably just say, yeah, go for it, cool. And then I don't know if you want to do like a certain amount of time after that, we can schedule it at that point, or if we want to wait until we get like what we would consider a decent amount of feedback. Or I would say like either 2 things would prompt it. We get a good amount of feedback from that survey that we have time to discuss and we want to go over it. Or we also send out the email and for some reason Verizon's on top of it and they send us someone to talk to, and that would prompt the next, meeting.
So my suggestion is maybe like September 10th, because people are starting to get back from summer vacations, kids are back in school, kids are off to college. And so one of 2 things, we should probably have some responses maybe from, even if it's just initial from the businesses.
Okay.
Or maybe the week thereafter. And it may also be that I'd be able to come and report to you, hey, we might have a guest, or
Yeah.
I've got some initial responses back to the committee from, I think August tends to be a tricky month. So that's why I think if we get into, middle of September somewhere, that gives businesses and, the companies time to actually pay attention. That's just my thought, so 10th or the week thereafter.
Currently, the 10th works for me. Later in September doesn't, so
So do that,
there's
see what happens.
traveling.
That works for others.
I mean, I could still probably hop on.
Ash, what about you? Would the 10th work, September 10th?
Good for me.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, pray that we get some results and maybe somebody will actually respond to us.
Yep.
Or give us someone to start with. I feel like, I don't know, maybe we'll get straight to the source, but I just feel like we're gonna get like a level 1 and then we're gonna ask like some ridiculous questions. They're gonna be like, I'll get back to you.
That's why I was
Trying to.
trying to go a little further up the
Also,
chain.
same time, 5.
5, yeah,
Okay.
that's,
So if Gary is not going to be here, but could be by Zoom,
Okay.
we just need to make sure that we keep our in quorum person, and then it's fine to have 2 by Zoom.
so far so good. Yes.
All right, cool. I think we're good, so motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
All right,
Second.
okay.
All in favor?
Bye.
And you, Ash, right? Good. Right. Thank you, everyone. Give me a
Thank you.
minute. I will stop the recording.
Debbie, thank you again for the Herculean effort.
Let me, recording, I need to stop.
Yeah, Stephanie, I'll send you an email and sometime we can just get together or we can figure out a way to share